Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey to publication. I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
And I'm Christina Catane, and I write Christian fantasy.
And we are half the power of our typical show because we have Rhonda absent. She's been absent for a while, and our prayers are still with her. And today we are missing Jen, sadly. She is under the weather, so we could appreciate some prayers for her as well. And I just want to say, when I have the luxury and joy of being able to be on the podcast, that opening sequence of our smiling faces just makes me so happy. I'm just so happy to be here. And I really appreciate this community. I appreciate all of our listeners. I appreciate you, Tina. I do appreciate Jen and Rhonda. And together, this is just something very special to me. So thanks for being a part of it, everyone. All right. So we typically have go around the table and talk about what's up session, but it's, what's up with you, Tina?
Oh, you're that way. Oh, well, first of all, where did the expression under the weather come from?
I don't know, but I do know that I think your sound might be coming through your computer instead of your headset, if you care. It's just a little quieter than I think it would be if it was your headset.
Can I mute now?
Nope.
Well,
do you not care? Because I can still hear you, but it's just probably...
I'm just going to fix it real quick. So
all right.
Audio. Oh,
I've got to say also, StreamYard is a really good platform for this kind of stuff. If anybody out there is thinking about podcasting to help their writing career or for any other reason, I highly recommend StreamYard. You can do a lot with the free version. Lots of fancy stuff if you're willing to pay. And good morning, Shell. She gets up so early to join us. She's 3 hours behind out there in California. Oh, it's saying that it's coming through your headset, Tina?
It says it is. I don't know.
Oh, well, again, we can hear you.
Now? No, then it's not coming through my headset.
Well,
but I'm going to leave it on just in case something
you never know. Yeah. Oh, good morning, Teresa. Oh, it's so good to see you guys.
Yeah.
So what's up with you, Tina? And what's up with you, Shell and Teresa?
Well, there's not been a lot. My summer kind of ended, and I've not gotten anything I wanted to do done since then. So, I have these health issues, and it seems like stuff starts to go wrong. And I've been going to the same clinic for 17 years, residency clinic. So the doctors that you see are residents, and then they see you, and then they go talk to the attending physician, and then they come back and change everything they said they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
The attending said, no, that's not what we're doing. So then, of course, you don't get to talk to the attending. Every time there's an issue with my health, my doctor graduates. Right in the middle of it.
Oh.
So I was like, you know what? I am tired of starting over with a new doctor every 2 years. I'm going to find me a real doctor. Not that they're not real doctors. They're just not real doctors yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw a real doctor yesterday. Really nice. I really like her. She laughed at my jokes. So... And she gave me this ointment for my hands because I have arthritis, and this right hand has been hurting so bad that I've been having to get my husband to open water bottles for me.
Uh-oh.
Because I can't get a grip on them. And of course, oh my gosh, call me in the middle of the...
Well, good morning, Catherine.
My husband has a degree in robotics engineering.
Yeah.
So he got this wrench thing out of his toolbox, and he sucks it to my water bottles. So all I have to do is put it on there and twist.
Now that's love, I have to say.
Yeah. So thank you, dear. It still hurts a little, but not as bad as. Anyway, she gave me this ointment, and it smells really bad, so it must gonna be working.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. So you're saying that that's kept you from writing. Is that what you mean? You've been not able
Part
to
of it, because then
control?
when I go to write, my hand just aches, and after and I have to work for my job on
Mm,
the computer, and so then that's my mouse hand too, and it's
mm.
mostly mouse work, like just clicking and but then my hand gets cold and it gets really achy, just really bad. So, and I can't take ibuprofen because of my kidneys because I'm diabetic, and Tylenol does nothing. And so my husband got me this mouse thing. You put your mouse inside it. It's actually a mouse. Like it has whiskers and a nose to it. And you stick the mouse pad and the mouse inside this like little pocket in it, and it's heated. You plug it in
Aw.
because my hand was getting so cold. So it's just been a struggle with my health. And so finally, this doctor's like, here, use this cream. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I see a little bit of what's up in the comments. Teresa says she started a new story just for fun. We'll see where it goes, but it's refreshing to start something new in this season. Yeah, and she had shared in our Facebook group that she has a brand new writing nook. I want to know how that's working out for her. If you care to update us in the chat, Teresa, I'd like to know if the writing nook is where it's at, or if you found yourself still returning to some other comfortable place in your house. And I like to know what's up with everybody else. As far as what's up with me, I will tell you that I was going to say something completely different for my what's up. And then my dad sent me on Facebook, of all things, a really cute little picture that someone from Facebook, and it was basically names for people who read a lot. And so, for example, in English, and we would say someone is a bookworm. Now, for example, Germany is on here, and I looked, and they do also use the phrase bookworm, but there's a different one on this list. So apparently, Indonesian bookworm is a book flea. And apparently, a Romanian bookworm is a library mouse.
Oh, I like that.
I know, that's cute. And then in a Danish bookworm is a reading horse. And a French, this is my favorite one, a French bookworm is an ink drinker. Yeah, drinking it with your eyes. Yeah. I love that. Oh, good morning, Piper. And then we have the German reading rat.
Oh, I don't like that.
Germany won't let you down. It's very fun for me because I studied German as my second language. We had to take a second language in high school. And it's always like Germany has like the harsh thing to call everything. But I will tell you what, if you look up like how you would pronounce that, it does not, it's Laserata. So it's not so bad. Like it's not as harsh and rough in German as you would think.
Wow.
So I wanted to share that as my what's up today.
Library mouse, but yeah, ink drinker is my favorite.
Yeah, ink drinker. All kinds of things conjure up some kind of a bizarre vampire cross breed, something. I don't even know. But drinking it with your eyes, I just love that. Shell says, what's up? Spent the summer reading a few fantasy series. That's awesome. That sounds like an ideal summer, honestly. Catherine Carroll also likes ink drinker. That's her favorite. About the writing nook, Teresa says she loves it. It's so tiny that I'm completely blocked in and it's pretty clutter-free. So far, all distractions are hidden from me. That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, Piper, ink vampires. I think she might be inspired.
Ooh, well, the new series from Piper.
Yeah. And if we've inspired anybody at all to write, you should take a stab at our writing sprint. We'll be sharing ours later in the show. But if you've been inspired by anything we've discussed during the What's Up, take a crack at writing something down so you can say you wrote today.
It's going crazy right now, like thinking about vampires, like sneaking into the library and sucking up the book.
Yeah. Did you ever read Bunnicula as a child?
No.
So Bunnicula is a bunny, and the family dog, suspects that this bunny is a vampire because the carrots only get drained of the orange color. They're only drained of the juice. They're not ever eaten, right? So that's kind of a fun.
That's hilarious.
Yes, yeah, you would like Bunnicula. You should read them as an adult. Maybe you could read them
I
with
can give them
Athena.
to my granddaughters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our favorite book right now is We Do Not Eat Our Classmates. If you have not read this book, you need to. It is hilarious.
That's fun. Yeah, I like Bunnicula. And then as they get older, the series of unfortunate events, Lemony Snicket, it's delicious and teaches them a lot of vocabulary. Love that series.
My older kids actually read that when they were younger.
Love those.
And there was one, the Gregor series. Anyway, it was written by the lady that wrote the Hunger Games, but it was a young, like, children's book, but not little children. So it was like a chapter book, but it was about Gregor and his little sister fell through the sewer grate in their apartment building and fell down and into this other world where there's little tiny people that ride bats. Like the bats are huge and the rats are the bad guys and there's these giant spiders. And Gregor is the fulfillment of a prophecy.
Mm.
And him and his little sister down in this other world. And my son, that turned him on to reading when he was young.
Well, that's a good rec. Okay. Oh, good morning, Barbara. Barbara has joined us and she says she loved Bunnicula. And then we've got Cinderella Skeleton. Ooh, that must be a reading recommendation. That's one to look into. I like the name. I like the alliteration of it. Cinderella Skeleton.
Got me thinking of like Nightmare Before Christmas kind of stuff.
My oldest loves that series, Tina. There you go.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, so we're going to transition out of the What's Up segment, and we're going to start talking about our topic of the day, which is, did God tell you to write? And we're hoping this isn't going to be a really skinny episode because Jen had a lot to say on this topic. I had very little to say on this topic, but we're going to try to recreate what we would think Jen would have to say just based on what came up during our planning sessions, right, Tina?
Yeah.
And so we're going to be talking about, did God tell you to write? And if so, like, how do you know? I hear it a lot. I've heard it a lot, especially like just coming off a conference, which is really what sparked me to bring this topic to the table. Well, God gave me this story or God told me to write. And if you come from a tradition like I come from where if God's going to talk to you, it's the Bible, full stop, right? What do you mean? Is a question that comes to my mind. Do you hear an audible voice? Whatever. So how do you know if he's telling you to write? And if he hasn't told you to write, if you haven't had an experience like this, does that mean you shouldn't? And that pretty much is the introduction to this topic. So what do you want to talk about first? Obviously, how do you know if God's telling you to write?
Well, like some of the things that we talked about with Jen was like some people have a burning bush moment where they might not necessarily hear an audible voice. Some people might, but that that God's speaking to you and nobody can tell you otherwise.
So this burning bush moment would be obviously referencing in the Bible when, there's this burning bush which grabs your attention. And then from there's a message. So we're talking about moments in time where you very clearly get a strong impression or possibly a voice or like
stories of people hearing audible voices, but not about writing, not necessarily, but other things.
And so that's what we mean by like some people have a burning bush moment. Some people can tell you the day, time, and hour when they knew God was calling them to something. And in this case, we're talking about writing. So that is one way to know.
Right. And then there's I think the more common is the slow burn.
What do you mean by that?
So, for instance, you are doing a devotional of some kind. Some people do devotionals out of books that they read that were written as devotionals. Some people just read the Bible and pray. I have a book that is kind of like a liturgy kind of thing, where it has scriptures for you to read. It has paragraphs written by theologians about whatever topic that day is on. It has psalms for you to sing, or hymns. I'm sorry. And then there's prayers that are like actually written out that you can use, or you can have your own prayers. And then, of course, reading the Bible, things come out. And I just remember like slowly realizing that God was saying to me, use your words. You know how you say that to little kids?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
they're having trouble expressing something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just, and you say, okay, just use your words.
Yeah.
Like, I really felt God saying that to me over time. And my writing is, and I know this was at the end of the thing, but like, this is my experience. I realized God wanted me to use my words. Well, what does that mean?
Mm.
And so teaching a Bible study, I wrote a blog for a while. I used to write these long posts about theological things on my Facebook a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like a journey of trying to figure out. I know God wants me to use my words because I'm kind of a word nerd.
But you're not called to preach.
No, although my friend Tanya thinks that I am, and she tries to get me to preach, but
interesting.
tried to get me to preach at her church, and I was like, no, I'm not a preacher. I'm a teacher.
So let me just dig a little more into God telling you use your words. Are you saying like, there's a very popular catchphrase around, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Was it coincidence upon coincidence mounting up? Was it you would actually see the phrase, use your words written down somewhere? Like, was it just a strong impression? What?
It was all of that, like over time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing a study on wisdom,
mm-hmm.
where basically I just got out a concordance and I found all the scriptures in the Bible that spoke on wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm somebody who has always been like an accelerated learner in school, on the honor roll, got put in a gifted program. The Mensa people, after I took my IQ test, tried to get me to join.
Mm-hmm.
And which I thought was hilarious, because if I'm that smart, why am I going to pay $500 a year just to join your club? No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose if I had a career that depended on me being like a member, that would be worth it. I was like, no. Anyway, so then I was doing this study on wisdom, and it just kept coming up that all wisdom comes from God. Like, none of our wisdom is our own. It all comes from God. And then it kind of morphed into like my love for words, and especially like I like to dig into the meanings of words. And when I teach my Bible study, I like to look at the original manuscript in the Greek in the New Testament, and look at those Greek words and study them. And so, and it was just over time, and like a couple of my like accountability prayer partners would say different things, and it just kind of like came together.
Okay, so this is a really good segue into kind of the next point, because like me being the one coming to the table with this question, it's like, but how would you know that that's God telling you something and not just you having a like some kind of daydream or fantasy? And Jen was one to say that there's techniques that she often uses to decipher whether or not anything was from God. And you really corroborated that. So do you want to expound a little?
Well, yeah, first of all, it has to line up with scripture. Like, nothing that God is going to tell you to do will contradict scripture in any way. So that's your number one kind of plumb line, if you will.
Okay.
The next would be in prayer, because his sheep know his voice and listen to his voice. And so when his voice speaks, usually if I know it's his voice, if it's something that I would never come up with on my own. Like, that's really clear. Like, okay, I want you to go speak in front of people. And I'm like, that's not me. That's not
right.
coming up with that. and then you'll get confirmation. So people who you know, so like it wouldn't be like Jane walking down the street and you bumped into her and you
Mm-hmm.
know Jane. I would say confirmation would come from somebody who you know is praying for you,
Oh, that's nice to think about.
or you pray with them, or he's your pastor, she's your pastor. Somebody who has some kind of skin in the game on your spiritual development.
Hmm.
And then a mentor is another one who will confirm it. Like I see you, like my friend, I had a friend, she was her husband was a co-pastor with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to nominate her father for this award that they give out every year, the
Mm-hmm.
Distinguished Service Award. So, and she had all these ideas of like really sweet, like heartfelt ideas about what she wanted to say about her father in this nomination letter. But she said, "You have words, I don't have words."
Oh, wow. That's a confirmation, isn't it?
Yeah, like so, like she said, I could write it and it would be terrible. So I wrote it for her and he won the award. I don't know if that was my writing, extremely distinguished service, which he really deserved to win. But
We've got
he who did not have words had written it, it wouldn't have been.
Let's address Piper's comment when we get a little farther down in the outline, because we're going to get there, Piper. So yeah, for sure. So the last thing we have on our notes, it's funny because I'm like, he's going to nag you is the way I want to put it. But how it's actually written is he's not going to say it once and be quiet. There's not, it's not going to be, well, I mean, even the burning bush, there was follow up with that and follow through, right, Tina?
Yeah. Well, and if Moses was not familiar with hearing God's voice, then he needed a bush, right?
Wow, that's interesting to think about, for sure.
We have the Holy Spirit, and so we can recognize God's voice. And God is a gentleman. He's not going to come with a club and knock you over the head and say, "Go write a book." He's going to be a gentleman about it and let you respond to his leading. And so he's not going to leave you hanging.
Oh, Piper's got Jonah written down there. This is resonating with her for Jonah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was pretty persistent and relentless. Okay, so here we go. So what if he isn't leading you? What if he isn't gently nudging? What if you have no burning bush moment? What if you say none of this?
Well, I want to read this thing that Jen sent us. I don't know if she sent it to you, but she talked about it in our meeting that she saw on Instagram. And it was just like one of those slide things where people were talking about God. And it says, "You were created by a creator to create." Oh, and the slide's not going to change on for me. What's going on here? Oh, that was the last slide. Sorry. There's a hermeneutical method that some use called the principle of first mention. It essentially asserts that the first time a word, phrase, or concept is used in Scripture is significant. So, who was the first person the Bible described as being filled with God's Spirit? Uh-oh, we lost Jamie. It wasn't Abraham, it wasn't Moses, it wasn't David. It was Bezalel. Bezalel, however that's pronounced. Were you close? He said. And he wasn't filled to preach or prophesy or govern. He was filled with God's Spirit to create. Exodus 35 says he was filled with the Spirit of God with wisdom to make artistic designs, cut stones, and engrave wood for the tabernacle. Turns out God cares about creativity. I think that's fascinating. From the very beginning of the story, God invites us to join him in the work, creating and cultivating, dreaming and implementing, constructing and ordering. Every person is made in the image of God, full of dignity, with unique gifts and talents, meant to point people back to him. So it goes on, but basically, Our God is a creative God. We were created in his image, and we were created to create. And so even if God's not calling you to necessarily write a book, he did create you as a creative being. And if you have that talent and gift, then you can use it. I hope Jamie's coming back because this is going to be awkward with just me. So, the Bible says, and I have that reference right here, I think, in everything you do, do all for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says that. And so that's the answer to her question. And I don't know where she is. So let me see what else is on our outline, because she's our host too. So there's this, let's throw a little wrench in the soup here. Is God telling you not to write and you're ignoring it? That's a good question. Like, maybe you think that you should be a writer, but God's telling you to do something else. I'm not saying that's your case, but it could be. How do you know? Well, you've got to use those techniques. This can't go against scripture, and it has to, and you hear it through him in prayer, and it will be confirmed by other people. And so I would pray and ask him, if you think, oh boy, am I not supposed to write? If you have that feeling, then maybe it's something to explore. And if not, don't worry about it. Or maybe it's possible that he called you to write, but not to publish. I have a friend named Tanya who is a pastor. She has tons and tons of notebooks just filled with writing. She just writes constantly. And she uses those things as sounding boards and ideas, and it comes out in her preaching and in her teachings. She does a lot of speaking to women and recovering addicts. So, yeah, I just want to share, Catherine, here. The idea of God telling me not to write gave me a physical reaction. That would be painful. So I would, if you think that physical reaction was, oh no, I know that I'm supposed to write, no problem. But if you think that physical reaction is because it hit home, then spend some time with the Lord. And hi, Maria. Maria is here. We haven't seen you for a while. And just so you know, Maria, Jamie was here and then she disappeared. So I don't know if she's coming back or what the deal is. And I got a missed call, so I was just making sure it wasn't her. So, what else is on our outline? Sorry, just me, so I don't have anyone to talk back to me. At a minimum, you are going to be a creative being, whether God tells you to write or not. So just like God told me to use my words, but writing is just one avenue of using my words. I also teach a Bible study. I also do some speaking. Oh, okay. Catherine says that physical reaction, was grief of not being able to write. Yeah, see, it's in there and it's part of who you are. You got to do it. So I would just say, if God's not calling you to write a specific book, just do it for his glory. Do all that you do for the glory of God. Okay, now everybody's talking to me. I'm going to get into this. Teresa says, I wasn't sure how long it would be before I'd feel healed in my grief enough to write again. Then the Lord finally answered my prayers for an in-person writing friend in the coolest way. Yeah, that was really cool. She says that was both motivation and confirmation. Yeah, we all need that sometimes. I haven't written all summer because partly health, partly I had to go on a lot of trips, and partly I have a granddaughter who's less than a year old, and I just want to hold her all the time. So there's that. Maria says, yeah, I missed the last couple. I tried to join last week, but YouTube wasn't showing me the episode for some reason. Glad it showed up this week. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, Maria, but I like at the last minute was like, oh, we got to get this link into the Facebook page. the group. So I will try to do that every week, but sometimes, stuff happens and all right. Looks like I got a message from Jamie. Let's see what's going on. She's switching computers and she will hopefully be here in a minute. So let's just like kill time here. Um, there's a lot of things that God could tell us to do or not do. And I just think that the closer you are to Him and the more that you're abiding with Him, the more clear those things will be. Oh, goody. Jamie is here.
My internet is completely out. I am on my cell phone using data. How's my my voice quality?
It's okay. It's like you're kind of like a Chinese kung fu movie at the moment. Because the words and the mouth movements aren't exactly lined up, but it's not bad.
Okay. Well, at least I'm back to help you finish out the show. Where are we?
Yeah, I was just kind of like talking away about nothing. So I was hoping you'd make it back.
Oh, got it. Yes. And fortunately, my Google Docs didn't poop away my outline and my sprint. So I am still set up to finish. Yay.
Okay. Well,
So,
we're done with the topic, and I was just about to say that we should do the feeding of the backs. So you want to take it back over again?
all right. I'm excited. Yeah, well, basically, it's throwing it over to you to ask you what was our writing sprint topic today and what did you write?
Um, well, the topic was He told me to do it, or Thus saith the Lord, whichever one you wanted. And I did start out with the intention of using he told me to do it, but I never got there. And so this is like a continuation of last week where I'm kind of playing with the idea of a thriller
Mm.
kind of idea. So here we go. Robin stared blankly at the page of her book. She'd read the same paragraph at least 10 times now, and it just wasn't sticking. She put the book down and sighed. She couldn't get the look on Ethan's face earlier out of her mind. They'd been in the workout room. He was what appeared to Robin to be a military PT uniform. Gray shorts, gray t-shirt, Marines emblazoned on the back in black block letters. She'd been on the elliptical. The positioning of the machines meant that he was in her direct line of sight. She'd been trying to look anywhere but his rippling muscles as he ran on the treadmill. He had earbuds in and his phone strapped to his well-muscled arm. He stepped off the treadmill, putting his feet on the runners on either side before turning off the machine. Hello, he'd said, touching his forefinger to one of his earbuds. Yeah, okay, thank you. He stood stock still for several moments, staring at Robin without seeing her. He swayed a little before sitting down hard on one of the weight benches, staring at the floor, elbows on his knees, hands hanging loosely between his knees. That was really bad. Okay. We didn't have time to edit. Sorry, here we go. Robin went over to him. She reached out to place her hand on his shoulder, but pulled it back at the last minute. Are you okay? She asked. He looked up at her then, as if noticing her for the first time. There. A tear formed at the corner of his soft gray eyes. Next thing Robin knew, he'd wrapped his arms around her waist, his head resting against her abdomen as he wept. Robin didn't know what to do. Their relationship was purely platonic. He was her workout buddy and neighbor. He was a warrior. She often joked with her friends that he was the real-life Ethan Hawke. The former Marine now owned his own security firm. She put her hand on his shoulder, her heart twisting at his grief. They're all dead, all of them, he said then. And Robin realized he'd only reached for her because he needed someone to reach out to on what may well be one of the worst days of his life. She put her other hand on his head, ignoring her own feelings, and let him pour his out until he suddenly stood and said, I've got to go. That's it.
That's it? Oh no.
Like, in a good way. Where is the rest? Where is some more?
I ran out of time.
Oh, oh no. Yeah, I did. I was eavesdropping as you were clickety clacking away past your timer, but you had to at least get us this far.
I had to get the thing where he said they're all dead in there. I couldn't, like, that's when the timer went off. I
Yeah.
was just about to type that. So
Mm.
I had to get that in there. It was
So,
very
yeah,
important.
so how do you feel about this exercise? As I know it was meant to be exploratory for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling inspired about this whole thing, and I'm not sure. Like, I want her to be like the hero of the story, so I'm still not sure how that's gonna work out, but I'm working on it. So okay,
Yeah, and this relationship is complicated.
yeah. There's a little bit of a gap between Jamie and I, so I am just going to ask you, Jamie, what you wrote and have you read it to us.
Okie dokie. Again, the prompt was he told me to do it, aka thus saith the Lord. So here's what I wrote. He told me to do it. He told me to
Oh no,
do it. The excuse seemed flimsy, even to her.
you're good. You just cut out for just a minute.
Oh, okay. The
Just keep
excuse seemed the excuse seemed flimsy, even to her, so she didn't bother to say it out loud. It didn't matter how many customs agents they sent in to question her. It didn't matter how much her mother pleaded during phone calls that seemed to last an eternity instead of the permitted 5 minutes. He told me to do it. It was as simple as that, and yet she could see how this explanation would curl the lips of the forward thinking women she knew. Women like her cousin Lee, who wasn't even named Lee, but preferred that moniker because it was short and powerful and couldn't be cutesied up. He told me to do it. It was as simple as that. And yet she could see this excuse would seem thin even to those women she served alongside each Sunday, women who were married to good Christian men and who would therefore never be asked to do such a thing. We are meant to submit only so far as what we are being asked to do would be approved by the Lord. He told me to do it. It had been enough for her, always. Through 13 years of marriage, and before that, through their whirlwind courtship, she had been his ride or die. And now he was dead, and she had literally been left holding the bag. What would become of her? She did not know, and found it difficult to care. He told me to do it. Lost in the haze, she was meant to listen now. They sent her a lawyer, a man, but a child of a man whom she couldn't respect. A man baby, he seemed to her, probably only just out of law school. His hands shook when he took papers from his briefcase to present to her. His voice was soft as unworked hands as he explained to her the options. There was no insistence behind his whimpering pleas for her to speak up and defend herself. The charges against her seemed to tell someone else's story. Murder! Whom had she murdered? No one. She'd only cowered behind the sofa, hands pressed to her ears, screaming as the pop of the pistols caused flashbacks to the evening before, when she and Tony had celebrated his huge score with champagne and laughter. But it made it clear to her now why she had been put in a cell all by herself. They were afraid of her, and that made her laugh. I beg your pardon, Miss Kellerson, but this is a very serious matter. The fear in his own soft brown eyes made her laugh even harder, and the meeting was abruptly ended. She was taken back to where they'd been holding her, still laughing and shaking her head, wondering at the mystery that was so many people afraid of her 110-pound soaking wet frame. She was still amused when the cell door opened some time later, and a large, shadowy figure, also clad in prisoner's garb, stepped in. She only had to look into the eyes of steel and upon the smirk of indignant challenge to know this is someone I can listen to.
Oh, wow. That's good. Like, I was really loving the
Thanks.
description
I'm
of
pretty happy with it.
it reminded me of my former doctor who was, like, 12 years old.
Mm.
Because he was a resident.
It's like everybody is 12 years old. Yeah, everybody is 12
When you
years
get
old
to
once you
be
get to be a certain
55 and
age,
you're
aren't
looking
they?
at your doctor and you're like, "I have children older than you. You are not giving me a feminine exam. No." I love that part. But that
Oh.
last line where she said, "This is someone I can listen to," it was like it, like, framed in that whole thing of where, like, he told me to do it, and she was listening and following and being submissive, and now she found someone else to tell her what to do. Like, I love that, how you did
I
that.
appreciate that. Thanks. I really
Um,
enjoyed writing it. I'm happy with the outcome.
Shell said, "Man, baby, good one." Yeah, I agree. Catherine Carroll said, "Yikes." Shell said, "So great, Jamie, so intriguing. I want it to keep going." Yeah, agreed. And then I skipped one about mine. So heart wrenching, really great scene. Thanks. So that's our. Oh no, I almost called you guys the peanut gallery. That's
Well, I really appreciate the encouragement, and I'd love to see what other people come up with if they take on the sprint. So, if
yeah,
you wanted to join our Facebook group and post there what you sprint, we would love to read it. Me, when my internet comes back on, and um, Tina and probably Jen would love to see it, give her something to look at. Oh, I was going to say I had the spinny black circle for a minute again, and I
yeah. You were kind of cutting in and out a little bit. So it's probably time for the what's next. I don't know if Jamie's frozen.
oh boy, my connection is
She is not coming
ten.
through. Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you what my what's next is, and hopefully she can get her signal back in the meantime. What's next for me is I need to get my button gear. So if anyone knows how to make me do that, yeah, it's open to suggestions. I need to come into my office first thing in the morning instead of going out and sitting in my other chair. I have a tendency to fall asleep. Um, and then don't get any writing done. I'd rather daydream, to be honest with you. But yeah, there goes the black circle for Jamie. I don't know if we're gonna lose her. Makes me very sad.
My
Are you back?
back.
Yeah, I think you are.
I'm asking. Yeah, my yay! How aggravating! I don't get to be with y'all all the time, and then and of all days for the
Oh, we might have
there
lost
to be
her.
tech issues. It has
Yeah.
to be
Okay. Well, I think we lost her
my
again.
back again.
No, like I can hear like every other sentence. I think so. Yes, Catherine, daydreaming is a part of my writing process. So, and Shell says, what's next? Planning to use the Inktober prompt list as sprint prompts and write every day next month. You know, you should go into our Facebook group, Shell, and share that link for Inktober. Maybe that's something that get me back. And if I don't have the pressure of having to finish a book and I can just sprint every day, like maybe I'll get inspired. Barbara says we'll have to start a conspiracy theory as to why Jamie's audio keeps going out. Yeah, that could be fun. You start, Barbara, and we'll fill in the details. Yeah, because she does live in Florida, and I hear there's a lot of UFOs down there. It's just what I heard. So I don't know. So what's next for me? I'm gonna maybe try this Inktober thing with Shell and see if I can get some writing done and work on my health problems. And hopefully Jen will be feeling better. And she can be back next week, and you won't have to just see me and listen to me. Oh, look, I got a thing in the private. Oh, Jamie says I'm talking away. Ha ha ha. So she was still talking even though she was gone. Oh, maybe she's back again. Are you back
Am I
again?
back?
Yeah, I think you're
I don't,
okay.
yeah. Well, let me quickly get my what's next in there. I've decided that I'm gonna put some effort into possibly promoting things I already have published. To that end, I did start a TikTok account, but there's nothing posted there yet. And I'm feeling a little bit motivated to at least do writerly things, even if it's not get that novel finished, because I just kind of feel like I'm going to do the things that I feel like doing because why not? And so, I mean, meanwhile, I feel like the book is going to be all the better for the wait because even just today, I had a little bit of revelation about something that will make my characters more believable and real to my readers. And so I am trying to get to a place where I want to do that work, but I'm really also stuck behind the mountain of like, why does it have to be so much work? You know what I mean? And so, uh, yeah, I just have to decide that I want to finally do it, and that's not where I'm at. So I'm at least doing what I want, which is something.
Right.
I'd like to get a lot of these sprints that I've done. Piper Cindy one time suggested that I publish them in some incarnation. And if I'm going to be promoting my short fiction, it would make sense to offer some sort of compilations under the writing shorts kind of banner to accompany whatever I end up doing with the TikTok. So thanks for listening to that.
No problem. And Barbara says we'll keep Jen and Rhonda in my prayers. Yeah, we all definitely have
Oh,
both of them in our prayers. And hopefully they will be feeling better soon and be able to. It would be nice to have the four of us back together again, the four
yeah,
musketeers.
sure was. Yeah, I really miss Rhonda's laughter.
Yeah, yeah, and she also had a unique view of things that kind of rounded us all out.
For sure. All right,
Okay,
well, yes, I can do the closing since I'm. Oh, maybe I'm not. Am I still here?
sort of. Yeah, you're like really lagging.
You might.
All right, she's gone again. So I'm just going to close out the podcast. Sorry, guys, for all the technical issues. But at least we got to see two of us today. So until next week, may your pen be prolific, your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ.
Bye, friends.